Have you ever known you needed to do something? Sort of like subconsciously, you knew that there was something you needed to do, but you didn't want to do it. And so instead of doing that, you just avoid, and procrastinate until you wind up finally doing the thing at like 2 in the morning. Every once in a while, something happens in the world where I feel like the entire world should be fundamentally different. But yet, every time this happens, I wake up the next morning and I'm faced with the same daily grind that I had before the thing happened. Everything changes, and yet nothing is different. While parts of my worldview are completely shattered and my hope for humanity is waning, I can avoid dealing with those emotions by watching the same old shows that I was watching before on Netflix. And while for some other people their lives are irrevocably changed, I wind up standing in front of the refrigerator looking at a block of cheese and wondering when it went bad without me noticing. I have privilege. I'm white and educated, and not having a job isn't something that winds up putting me on the street. I have the privilege to ignore the rallies and protests and counter-protests that started last week in Charlottesville, Virginia, and have continued all throughout this week. But if I were to use this privilege to remain silent, then I would also be avoiding and ignoring my own conscience, which is just so scared of saying something wrong. Because what can I even do with my privilege? With my little life, what is there that I can do to affect change? I can have hard conversations with the people that I surround myself with. And I will. I am trying. But that also means that I have to be the voice in a crowded room that says, why aren't we talking about this? And those words just keep getting stuck in my throat. And then there's the question of, how do I respond to this as a Christian? And that is the even scarier question to me. I know people who are consistently praying for wise counsel for a president that I can't even really think about without getting angry. And I've had conversations with people who say that we're called to love, and in their minds that means that we're called to love the people who are spreading hate. But I don't think I can do that. I don't know how to love people who are chanting hate messages and who already think that they're chosen by God. And that scares me. And I look at these people and I watch the news and I scroll through Twitter, and I just don't feel like we know the same Jesus. Because the Jesus I know called for loving the people who looked like him and the people who looked different. He was an immigrant and a Jew, and he told me how to live through his actions. Actions like talking to a woman at a well who he should have had nothing to do with. And actions like telling stories where the Samaritan, the outsider, becomes the hero. The Jesus I know loved people through words of knowledge and through healing, and sometimes he loved people through anger. He told the people in the temple who were taking advantage of those less fortunate to get out of his house. And that's what I want to do. Get out of my house. Get out of my country. My friends are right. We are called to love everybody. And that means loving the people who are hating on my friends. Love is unconditional. But right now, the only people who I can even think to love are the people who are being hated on. So I'm going to love the people who are in my life. No matter what they think. And I'm going to figure out how to love them even when I feel my throat get really tight and I don't know what to say. I'm just going to have to figure out what to say. And I know that that's not enough for some people. We live in a world where there are actual Nazis and real life Ku Klux Klan members who are not afraid to show their face in public. This isn't a video game anymore. But I'm not a video game hero either. The only way I know how to respond is to love. Because if I respond out of fear, then hate wins. We can't let hate win.